Uh, Now I can actually kind of get into more of the details because I knew a lot of this. Basically, George Lucas is planning to return to Star Wars, and he's working with Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni to set in motion creative efforts to fix a sustained legacy. Starting with the show focusing on a new Jedi Order. This is going to be kind of like the beginning for the OG characters. I think they're how would I say this? You don't want to eat that. Weird dog. I guess their rehabilitation. Okay, so we get this, and I know that a lot of the lefty shills will be pissed. I mean, you've got what's her face, Chloe James, and all the blue-haired land whales screaming about, George is misogynist, and everything. And of course, if you ever looked at him and thought, there's a reason why you don't care for the slave Leia outfit and you think it's bad, because you could never wear it. Okay, 'cause you're a pig. Okay, there you go. But this is a good place. They've gotten a good start too with Ahsoka. You're not going to hear Doomcock or Nerdraddick or anybody talk about Anakin Skywalker and what he's doing in the World Between Worlds. All right, somebody needs to ask, Doomcock at least. You talked about the World Between Worlds and the fact that they were going to use it as a vehicle to change the direction of the franchise. And now what? You also got to remember he was the one that said they were planning on killing the Force in Ahsoka, and never apologized for getting that wrong. Okay, fine. But this is good. Now I'm going to tell you something. They're going to double down on Filoni because he has become the number one for the black pills to hate. They're going to double down on, Favreau's not getting along with George, and then try to blame, it's just bullshit. Okay, get ready for that. The SJWs who can't abide by Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill and look at Billy D. Williams as a poor, pathetic black man, because they're, the white savior complex these bitches have. They will hate it because they know the validation they sought so hungrily for with Rey is gone. Okay, it won't be there anymore. There's a reason why Daisy doesn't talk about the Rey movie. There's a reason why, we got the Acolyte, which would hurt the franchise more. What can show up, be disappeared, and then go into the closet with the Star Wars holiday special? The Acolyte. The movies, the sequel trilogy's already been made. So they can't do this, they can't just quietly disappear them. And of course it's gonna bring up fears of a multiverse. Hi, Ian. No, I've got a little over a month before I decide if I'm gonna watch it or not. I probably won't. I might watch the first 2 minutes, see what it's about, just for kicks and giggles. But as far as wasting an hour of my life every Wednesday, or Friday or whenever they're gonna put it on, I probably won't do it. And the reason why is because I don't want to waste my time. A week from tomorrow we get Tales of the Empire, which they just posted Yeah, I think you're right. Cross, I think you're right on that. But this is something that people have wanted to see George back in some capacity. And here's the thing, all right, I'm gonna explain this. So, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are playing two different roles. Favreau is not quitting for the umpteenth time. He is planning on taking to take the role of Lucasfilm head, studio head, regardless of whether he ever officially holds that title, guiding the company forward from a big picture perspective, like George did. All right. Dave is going to be the creative number two, with George guiding both of them. And again, we have to sit there and think, okay, the 800-pound gorilla in the room is Kathy Kennedy. What is she doing now? What is her role at Lucasfilm going to be? All right. So these are the questions you got to ask yourself, and ask big YouTubers. Ask yourself, or ask them, why did Victoria Alonso get fired for producing, or what did she do? Let's look at her. Here, IMDb Pro. Man, good. Okay, so we'll go into her filmography because I want to make sure I'm right. She's got an executive producer's kind of title on Ironheart. I think it was Argentina, 1985. She was a producer on that. That was the reason why Disney fired her. I mean, that was the public reason. She wasn't allowed to work on another company's. They'll tell you who they were. Infinity Hill Films, and it doesn't say who actually put it out there, but it's on Amazon. That was a big no-no. It's a big no-no. If you work for Lucas, or if you work for Disney or a Disney subsidiary, you are not allowed to work on anybody else's stuff. You're not allowed to go. That would be like, Kevin Feige producing a movie with Sundance. He'd get fired. Okay. All right. Now Kathy Kennedy would. Well, so now we've got Kennedy, producer, and it doesn't say executive producer. Let's go back. Yeah, I mean, you just don't do that. Twisters. I never remember. I think it's a Universal. Now, producers. Patrick Crowley, Thomas Hayslip. She's got executive producer title. Frank Marshall has producer title. And what's interesting is that The Curious Case of Benjamin Button is a movie that they've got listed there for her, like, known for. And that was, who made that? I tried watching that movie. I thought it was awful. The director was David Fincher. Frank Marshall and Kathleen were both part of it. I don't know. Warner Brothers. So, let's go look in Twisters then. Because I can never remember. I think it's Universal. All right, Universal, yeah. So she's executive producing Twisters. Really? Victoria Alonso gets fired for producing Argentina. She got fired last year, so it was a year after that was done. Okay, I need a judge's ruling. Is Kennedy above getting fired for stuff like that, or did they just say, please go here, do this? We'll give you a break. Probably. There's absolutely no reason for her not. Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. Peter, I remember that. But somehow Kathleen Kennedy, the president of Lucasfilm, is producing a movie. It's a big tentpole movie with her husband for Universal. Oh, and Steven Spielberg. I'm sure he doesn't show up to the production meetings if she's there. You know, and again, we were talking about that weird meme that Frank put out there. It probably is to George. Okay, it probably is to George. And here's the deal. You know, now that I think about it, now that I think about all this, while I believe in forgiveness, and it's you forgive not for them, you forgive for your own soul. Okay, because being angry all the time, as I tell people all this, it's not good for you. I mean, it'll eat you up. It's too late, I think, in some circumstances, because they can't bring Carrie back. She's gone. Okay. I'm sure if you dangled $20 million in front of Harrison Ford's nose, he'd come back in a heartbeat. You bet your sweet Bippy, excuse me, Mark would. Good Lord. And now we've got, you know, this thing coming out from Sparrow, basically saying yes. Roger Christian is basically telling the truth. So you're like, okay. Basically, it's kind of like what I thought would happen. While it would be hilarious to see George come in as the head of Lucasfilm for the 15th time and have to go in and fix everything they broke. John's younger. He can do it. And I'm sure he's already got plans to prune the bad apples. And we all know who they are. Because look, when you've got people from Lucasfilm who do need to go, crowing that they have a TV show with The Acolyte, and they were the ones behind the asinine High Republic, they're in trouble because The Acolyte is still, I mean, let's look again, just because it's fun. Here, I mean, that's it. You know, now I'm going to say this. If you go to the Oscars channel and look for Fade Out, Fade In, Kennedy's humiliating herself, if you guys remember, you look at that and you won't be able to see that because they made sure you couldn't. All right. Because they're protecting your fragile little ego. You know, so this is all good news. This is all pointing in the right direction. Now let's talk about May 4th. May 4th is quote unquote Star Wars days. May the 4th be with you. All right. It's stupid. It's a Disney thing, but marketing tool, people seem to like it. we're getting Tales of the Empire. What announcements will be made? Okay, then on Tuesday, 8:30 a.m., Disney during the earnings call is going to make a big announcement. Now, again, I think it's the CEO. I think they've found a CEO. That it's the logical thing. But are they going to announce changes at Lucasfilm? Is the CEO thing the only thing? These are questions we need to ask because and Peter's right there. If anything, George comes in, 2 days a week or whatever, or does a conference call, a Zoom call with these guys, and and he'd be able to do that, show up on the set of this Jedi Academy, show up on the set of Ahsoka season 2, show up on the set of Heir to the Empire, Mando and Grogu, and just kind of talk to John, talk about the scripts. George gives more advice, knows he's going to be listened to, and the thing I've heard about Jon Favreau is that he liked to give pep talks before every day of shooting for Mandalorian season 1 and 2. He would come in and tell the guys about Star Wars and what they were doing, what they were walking into every day. And I think it gave the actors and the crew something, a real positive vibe, all right? Because no one ever leaked anything. Sets that have leaks are sets that aren't happy, which is why, Doomcock got the leaks he got about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. And, it got out to the fans, and I think it was leaked deliberately. Fans got all upset, and we find out through Harrison Ford, because he's doesn't owe Kathleen Kennedy anything, that they had to reshoot the end. And there you go. I just kind of look at it and go, well, you're looking at this. This is what's going on. This is kind of what we thought. How it's going to be announced, we don't know. Maybe it'll be announced on Saturday the 4th, which would be a day where fans like us will be paying attention, but normies won't. Okay. Maybe it'll be announced during the earnings call. Okay, this is good news. Okay, I don't see where saying that Kathleen Kennedy is on leave from her job and basically announcing that George is coming back to kind of work with Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni to help them with their Star Wars projects. I don't see where that would be a bad thing. Well, I mean, we were talking about Kathy before. And again, she is a creation of a mythology that she allowed to happen. Okay, she never told people to stop. That's her fault. Okay, it's not George's fault. It's not my dog's fault. It's not anybody's fault. Her ego is the size of the state of Texas. Okay, and when she had people all the time, I mean, when you look at the guys she worked with, was it Peter Fincher? I mean, the names: George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, John Milius, Robert Zemeckis. Who else? Martin Scorsese. I think the only one of that crew that she never worked with, I think, was probably Francis Ford Coppola. And I think that he probably would have said, I can't deal with her. And, I think people felt sorry for her. I mean, when you hear, where's that great, I'll play it for you. That great video that I've got it and I made a video of it, of Steven Spielberg talking about Kathy. And it's hilarious. And not that one. Here.
With her steno pad and her pencil, and she was horrible at taking notes, and she was terrible, and she didn't really know how to do it very well. But what she did know how to do was interrupt somebody in mid-sentence. We'd be pitching ideas back and forth, and Kathy was supposed to be writing these ideas down, suddenly put her pencil down and would say something like, and what if he didn't get the girl, but instead he got the dog?
That's her. Yeah, I think he probably did. But she really is a product of some bizarre and mythology making. Who are you talking about, Kim? Because I don't think anybody on this in that group had anybody die in Vietnam. Coppola didn't have any kids. He wasn't married. Didn't have any kids. George was too young. Stephen was too young. They are the age of a Vietnam veteran, to be honest. Those two. Francis is a little bit older. But this is Steven Spielberg saying this about the great, high and mighty Kathleen Kennedy, who is a product of her own imagination. All right? She is not a good producer. She worked for good producers. She worked for the greatest. Oh yeah, okay, you're talking about Indiana Jones. Okay, all right, yeah. So, it's a good way to get rid of Mutt. Granted, Shia LaBeouf is a different guy now, but that character was bad. I'm like, could you guys do a better job? You go from casting Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill and, you think of all the big actors. Tom Selleck almost got the part of, thank you, of Indiana Jones, but he had to do Magnum P.I. instead. Actors like that, Val Kilmer, okay, as Mad Mardigan, and then suddenly they get this brain fart with Shia LaBeouf. Really? Steven Spielberg casts Liam Neeson after, this is a true story. The first actor that got to look at the script for Schindler's List was Harrison Ford. And in fact, Steven said, I want you to play Oscar. Harrison looked at it and said no. And the reason why is, think about it. That's a role for someone, and it's not because he doesn't have the range, but it's more, it's such a European thing. And I'm not saying Harrison couldn't play that role, but how comfortable would he be playing that role? And so Liam Neeson, who was perfect at it, and he should have won the Academy Award that year, and Ralph Fiennes should have won for Best Supporting Actor. I kind of wrote a short bio paper on the character he played, and it was like that Amon Gut, the commandant of the Plachau camp, was a fucking psychopath on steroids. Okay, it's like you're looking at this going, I didn't know Vienna produced assholes like this. And he was Viennese, he was Austrian. Skyward, he doesn't hate Han Solo. Okay, when he looked at the script for Return of the Jedi and realized he didn't have anything to do, he got kind of ticked off. Okay, so if you're here to troll, you can get your fucking ass out of here now. Because either me or one of the blue wrenches is going to come and launch you. Okay? You can't bring that shit up because I know way more about it than you do, little punk. I know way more about it. All right? All right? So, you know, so Kathleen Kennedy was one of the producers on Schindler's List. Now, you kind of lean back and go, what did she do? Not a whole lot, probably. And the reason why is because that movie set the tone for Saving Private Ryan and everything else that came after. That movie was important to I think, film in general. Okay, it was as important as Star Wars. There you go. Thank you, Cross. So, you know, you have to understand though that she didn't have any say in any of the creative stuff that went into Schindler's List, into probably Benjamin Button, into what was it? Oh man, the movie. It was a remake with that idiot Robert De Niro. The old Gregory Peck and Robert Mitchum were in the original. I can't think of it. That was a Martin Scorsese project, and of course, you know, Robert Zemeckis with Back to the Future, and George and Stephen, you know, John Milius. I'm sure that in retrospect, he's probably glad she was never around for him writing Apocalypse Now, or when he filmed The Wind and the Lion. All right, because, you know, yeah. But she's a product of I think, feminist imagination. Nothing about her career is real. She owes it all to Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, and a host of other men out there. She gets to head Lucasfilm and does a shitty job. Okay, look. And that's the thing. This is why we're getting stuff about George coming back to do a TV show, to do the Jedi Academy. Okay. This is why we get stories about Jon Favreau being the unofficial head of Lucasfilm, of putting everything on a course. And she's nowhere to be seen. I mean, she is nowhere. Okay, this is why. And because she's incompetent. She's, you know, allowed all of these people at Lucasfilm to cause so much trouble. She's given leeway to bitches like Chloe James, who fucking hates George Lucas, hates Harrison Ford, trolls the fans that love them like an incessant. Have you ever seen her? The girl's eyebrows are thicker than a woolly caterpillar's. They need to be trimmed badly, maybe a lawnmower. And she wears so much lipstick, she'd make Marilyn Monroe pissed off. And she doesn't even put it on right. Okay. You know, here's the deal. A better look is nothing more than lip gloss. You don't have to do your eyes like this and then have your lips bold because you look like a whore. Okay, it's true. All right. Everyday look should be lips or eyes, not both. Okay. All right, that's why I do my eyes. I don't like having my, I don't like lipstick to begin with, and I haven't worn it in a long time because it's just, there comes a time when you're looking at yourself and you're like, No. You know, so if I'm going somewhere, a little bit of shine and that's it. That's all you need. But this thing looks like she's the Joker, Bozo the fucking clown or some shit, you know? And she dares to talk about Star Wars like she knows anything about it. She doesn't know shit about it. You know, if you go to Inside the Magic and you see the article about George maybe coming back, the subtext is, I'm pissed. The subtext is, I don't want these men to be rehabilitated. The subtext is, I hate white men. That's exactly what it is. She's a white woman. But you know what? That's the problem. Kathleen Kennedy's a white woman. All of these bitches who've caused so much trouble at Lucasfilm are white women. Yeah, and well, Peter's right on that. You know, and yeah, I mean, well, I don't know if she's a psychopath. I think she's a sociopath, which is, I can name sociopaths I've met. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Trent Lott, many people in government, okay? It's just, that's who gets attracted to power, okay? And they're functional in normal society. A psychopath is usually not. And it's very interesting to me that when you see all this stuff going on, that there's a lot more sociopaths than there are psychopaths. Harvey Weinstein's a sociopath. Okay, if you look at what a sociopath is, there's not a lot different between psychopaths and sociopaths. But a sociopath can live in society. They're manipulative. They abuse the people around them, and he did. And they are very narcissistic. But the narcissism that they display is not the same as the psychos. It's just really, I mean, it's you know, part of me looks at psychology as not being quite a science, especially when, you know, a lot of people that have actually gone into, they've gone into therapy. It doesn't work. It doesn't help them. All right. And because what they need is a talk with a priest. Because what they're suffering from isn't something that happened to them as a kid. It's their own bad behavior and their own bad consciences. It's their inability to ask for forgiveness. Okay, that's what that is. And when you start looking at it that way, I don't think people have as many problems as they think they do. And that's just me. I don't do that shit. My late sister Rose would be screaming at me right now because she was a psychologist. And her daughter Kari's a psychologist too. And this is me. Don't care. It's witch doctor craft to me. I don't care. But sometimes people actually do need to be clinically held. And sometimes there has to be people that can actually deal with them on a behavioral basis. So there is a place for it, but normal people being unhappy and being depressed, go talk to your priest. Go talk to your imam. Go talk to your rabbi. Go talk to your pastor. Talk to your parents. Do something like that. You don't need to spend $150 a session. All right? Because you're not sick. There's nothing wrong with you. You've got a conscience that's got something on it that needs to be released. That's all that is. Okay? You don't have to go spend 20 years on an analyst couch and not really go anywhere with any sort of cure. But back to Kennedy. No, I think, got a personality disorder. And I think it's probably a narcissistic personality disorder. Nothing about anything about her has come out. All right, they saw the house in Malibu, and that's real. And then of course she showed up at the Directors Guild with Tony Gilroy, Mr. Andor, and God knows when that's going to be released. But that's her last thing. Okay, that is her last. I think Lucasfilm hurrah. Now, I am going to say this and get ready for this. When we get a Mando Grogu movie, if we see her name as executive producer, the black pills and the black pill blobs heads will blow up because they will instantly infer she had anything to do with it. No, she didn't. All right, look, if you can go to Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, watch it, and say, well, George and Steven were executive producers, so therefore they had something to do with it. No, they didn't. They just had their names on there because, it was the right. It's per Producers Guild rules. Orange Blood. Do you remember when George came out pledging his proxy votes for Bob? Yeah. Bob, this was a quid pro quo, okay? And, well, that's the thing is that you've never see a sociopath self-destruct in real time. The only time I saw Nancy Pelosi, one was personal. So I'm in the Cannon House office building, and our Mr. Army's personal office was across the hall from the Cannon caucus room. So I walk up, I get off the elevator, and there's Nancy Pelosi with this, she looked like an 18-year-old little blonde intern, screaming like she got zapped in the ass by a lightning bolt at this girl. The girl's bawling her eyes out. I just kind of do this as I'm walking by. I walk into the office, and our office administrator was like, what the hell is going on out there? And I told him, and he's like, oh my God. And I go, I'm just glad we don't work for her. I mean, I can't, no. So the next time you see her completely, her face melt, Donald Trump's making a State of the Union speech, and she tore it up behind him. Do you remember that? So, Orange Blood, I don't think it's your place to talk about George Lucas's health, because the last time he was seen out, I can't remember where he was. He looked pretty fucking spry to me. So keep that to yourself. You can have this conversation, but I don't like speculating on the guy's health, especially since the last time he was out, he was fine, okay? And if you're coming from WDW Pro's channel, you can tell him I said fuck off, okay? But what he did to me and Cameron, it's gonna be a long time for me to forgive that son of a bitch, okay? That's all I'm saying. And he threatened Cameron in this chat. And I know there are people here that were there that saw it, like Cross. I think Peter might have been in chat. And I should have taken the screenshot. I was horrified. Well then, why are you bringing up George's health? You haven't seen him out, and he's been out. He's fine. All right? So cut it out. Can I ask you a question? Why do you think people in their 70s are decrepit. Harrison Ford is 81, and he could probably break any one of us between his thumb and forefingers. Okay? Age is a number. It is meaningless. All right, so shut up, because we don't do that. It's discriminatory, in my opinion. All right. My mom was 90 years old when she passed away, and she was no, you saw him about a year ago. Okay. He was out and about recently and he looked fine. Okay. All right. Question again, because I'm starting to think you're a troll. Why are you bringing this shit up when it's irrelevant? Okay. And then I gotta ask is, how old are you? Because it's usually people who are between the age of 40 and 15 who think they can be ageist assholes. Okay? All right? I mean, look, the black pill blobs do that shit. They do it all the time. All right? Pablo Hidalgo did that shit. All right? And, I've got a friend who's had diabetes his whole life. It's Mazarus, okay? And, everybody has struggles. I almost died of pneumonia, which is why my voice is like this. So, when I was 19. So, you speculating on George's health is shitty. A, it's none of your business. B, it's irrelevant. Okay? C, it's ageist. Okay? You're telling older people they're not valuable anymore. All right? That's bullshit. All right? That is absolute fucking bullshit. And I'm not going to put up with it. All right? No. I would rather hang out with people my age and older because the conversation is better. All right? And you learn things. Oh, I think there's already probably people thinking about that. The rise and fall of Kathleen Kennedy. And, yeah. And, I mean, you want to be ageist, she's going to be 71. All right. All right. And she spent the last 10 years unraveling her legacy. All she had to do was do what Lucille Ball did. What do we need to do? Okay, we'll do that. And then let Dave Filoni do it. What do we, be a better administrator. Hire people like Ridley Scott. Quit being a fucking feminazi and hire the alpha male director. Okay. One, to direct all three. Okay. Because the reason why Star Wars, the original trilogy, was so good is not because it had the same directors. George Lucas was producing and guided it. All right? He didn't have to sit in the director's chair to be the biggest reason why it worked. Okay? And his wife was there, basically slowing his roll in a couple of places. And I think the reason why, Return of the Jedi didn't hit all the right beats is because she wasn't there. Because she would have said, we have too many irons in the fire right now. We got to get rid of Lando. Okay? We have to, we can't have him in this because he's taking away from other characters. It ends up being, when you dilute the story through character, you lose what it's about. All right, does that make any sense? All right. But, and I think John knows that. I think Dave knows that. I know George probably knows that. Larry Kasdan did not know that. And the only thing is, I really think that if George had had someone saying, we need to talk about, yeah, turn Lando into a lesser role. He's there to help get get Han out of Jabba's. And then goes back to Cloud City to free Cloud City, freeing up Han to lead the assault on the Death Star. Then we don't have Harrison Ford crying about not having anything to do. Okay? I mean, it's like my dog standing by the door and hitting it with his toe 3 seconds after he just came back in. And then looking at you like, I went out. You were already out, but I went out again. You know, and it's not that he didn't have anything to do, but the fact of the matter is, he looked at what they did with the character and felt it was diluted. And I'm looking at him going, I understand that. You know, Lando is a character that was introduced in the middle of the movie, and he's a good character. But when I think about what they could have done instead, I think the movie would have been better. And, you know, still would have had Ewoks. All right, still would have had the Ewoks, but it would have been less of something to for people to complain about. Okay, I mean, you know, it would have been a better movie. All right, because you're not, you know, the audience is more, and I honestly think having Han and Luke both basically almost in the same place, Luke fighting with the Emperor and Vader, and Han and the Falcon with Chewbacca, you know, blowing the Death Star up would have been kind of cool. And it would have been, I mean, well, that would have been interesting but when George said he wanted low tech for the guys that help him, I understand that a lot. Well, you know, Kim, Pelosi's not going to do that. Obviously, the girl pissed her off, and screaming at her in public was not professional. You don't do that to anybody. You don't do that to people. You know, and I mean, she did come into our office. My boss, Richard K. Army, the congressman from the 26th district, Texas, who was the majority leader, was the chairman of the Select Committee on Homeland Security to fund the department, to create the department and to fund it. And because they were going to have the hearings in the caucus room, we had to host everybody. I saw everybody. I mean, you know, I had Ann Veneman, the Secretary of Agriculture. Don Rumsfeld came in. That was like, you know, that guy looked at you like he would eat your soul. I mean, he was scary. I'm not kidding. Paul Ryan would show up, and he wasn't part of it, but the other Democrats on the committee would come in, and then she did. You know, I'm sitting there one day, and Congressman Tom DeLay, who was the majority whip, also a Texas Republican, was sitting there, and we were talking. He's got the Hill newspaper, and, you know, I'm looking through mail and talking to the intern. Door bursts open, and this big black guy walks in, and behind him, this little tiny brunette, Nancy Pelosi. And she looks down her nose at me like I was like a bug. And I'm like looking at her going, yeah, I basically showed them into the boss's inner office where we had coffee, we had orange, we had everything, you know, donuts and, you know, a bagel spread and everything. And, you know, made sure she was comfortable. And then I said to the intern, I'm going to go in the back and finish what I'm doing here. I'm not going to deal with her. Now, she only came in once. Okay. And I was glad for that because she was That's all you needed. She walks in the room and and the temperature, ambient room temperature drops 20 fucking degrees. Okay. I never met Hillary Clinton, so I don't have a frame of reference. I've never met Kathy Hochul, and I've never met Gretchen What's Her Face from Michigan. But I'm sure that the feeling is probably the same. They're all witches from the same coven. And there are people out there, and they just fill you with rage. And, Kathy Kennedy fills me with rage. I mean, look, when Gina Carano did that, who was she talking to? I can't remember, but was it I think it was actually in THR, the Hollywood Reporter, talking about the first time she ever met Kathleen Kennedy. And I wouldn't say anything to her. I'd just get up and leave. I'd just give her a look like, did you fart? The fuck? And I'd leave. I mean, just nothing to do with that bitch. She's somebody to stay away from. But Gina said she never stopped looking at her and didn't blink, I don't think, like a lizard, and that her skin was peeling because she just had a facial. And I'm like this. It just, I mean, all right, I understand. Facial, she probably had a chemical peel. They still do that. And when you do that, your face looks like beef carpaccio, okay, for like 2 weeks. Because you burned the top layer of dermis off your face. So what you've got is all that fresh skin, and it's red, it's sore, because it didn't come off naturally. Okay. I've never done that. I have friends who have done that. And I'm like, I can't. Well, yeah, it's called, chemical peels. Sex and the City had a great episode where Samantha was helping Carrie with her book party. They're having it at this big restaurant in Manhattan. And Samantha goes to get, whatever, collagen injections. And the doctor says, you could do a chemical peel. It'll take 10 years off you. Okay. Okay. So Samantha goes, okay, fine. And she shows up to the party wearing a black veil. And, Carrie's like, what are you wearing? Samantha does that, and Carrie went, veil down, I think. You look like beef carpaccio. Because that's what it looks like. There was a long time ago when I was younger. 15 years ago, I might have done that. I might have done that. I might have gone for like, I don't know, you think about the stuff that girls think about doing. Liposuction, boob lift, eyes. I might get my eyes done someday, but, something subtle. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that if it makes you feel good, then do it. But don't go overboard, okay? I mean, some of the women in Hollywood, Michelle Pfeiffer actually tamed it down a little bit. So has Meg Ryan and others. But then there's some like Nicole Kidman. It's like, you get your cheeks filled and you look like a chipmunk. Anyway, I gotta go, guys. It's been a really, really good day. And I think George is back, baby, but we just gotta wait for the announcement. So I will see you guys around the galaxy. See you later.